When did it hit you that he'd never be your partner for life? I never thought I'd be the one packing up someone's life into the back of a van, but here I was, stuffing Jake's clothes, his beat-up guitar, and a couple of his half-read books into black trash bags. The van smelled like old beer and motor oil, and I was sweating through my t-shirt in the late afternoon heat. My hands were shaking, not from nerves, but from the kind of anger that sits heavy in your chest, the kind that builds up over months of putting up with someone's crap. This was it. I was done. It all started a week and a half ago, when Jake and I got into it over something stupid. I don't even remember what sparked it. Probably him leaving dishes in the sink again, or blasting music at 2 a.m. while our kid, Mia, was trying to sleep. Whatever it was, it escalated fast. Jake's got this way of turning every argument into a shouting match, his face getting redder with every word. That night, he went too far. He swung his fist into the closet door, leaving a jagged hole in the cheap wood. The sound of it cracking made Mia cry from her room, and I just stood there, staring at him, wondering how the hell he got here. He didn't stick around to talk it out. He grabbed his keys, stormed out, and peeled off in his van. I figured he'd cool off, maybe grab a beer and come back with an apology. Instead, he ended up at the liquor store down the street, picking a fight with some guy who wasn't having it. For what I heard later, Jake mouthed off to the wrong person, a big dude who didn't take kindly to being provoked. Next thing you know, the guy smashed a bottle over Jake's head. I wasn't there, but when he stumbled back home, his hair was matted with blood, and he was swaying like he'd had way more than a couple drinks. "You need to go to the hospital," I said, trying to keep my voice steady as I grabbed a towel to press against the back of his head. He shoved me away, muttering something about being fine. There was blood on the kitchen floor, and Mia was peeking around the corner, her eyes wide. I called an ambulance anyway. When they showed up, Jake refused to let them touch him. He was slurring, stubborn as hell, saying he didn't need their help. I begged him to let me drive him to the ER, but he just kept shaking his head, wincing every time he moved. The paramedics left, and I called a second ambulance later that night, thinking maybe he'd come to his senses. Nope, same story. He sat on the couch, clutching a beer, acting like he could tough it out. For days, he was a nightmare to be around. He'd snap at me for asking how he was feeling, and he'd groan about his headaches, but still wouldn't see a doctor. Mia started tiptoeing around the house, like she was afraid to set him off. I had to keep it together for her, but inside I was losing it. I had work, long shifts at the diner where I'm on my feet for 8 hours straight, and I had Mia to take care of. I couldn't keep playing nurse to someone who didn't want help. By day 6, I was done asking. I dragged him to the car and drove him to the ER myself. He was too out of it to fight me much, and when the doctor came back with the x-ray results, my stomach dropped. Skull fracture. Not just a concussion, but an actual crack in his head. The doctor said he was lucky it wasn't worse, that he needed to be watched 24/7 for at least 2 weeks to make sure he didn't have seizures or something. I just nodded, but my mind was racing. I couldn't do that. I had a job, a kid, bills to pay. I wasn't about to put my life on hold because Jake decided to be an idiot. I called his mom the next day. She lived a couple hours away, and I hadn't talked to her much since Jake and I got together, but she didn't hesitate. She showed up that evening, her face tight with worry, and took him back to her place. I felt a pang of guilt, watching him shuffle out to her car, his head bandaged, but mostly I felt relief. For 2 weeks, I focused on Mia, on keeping things normal for her. I patched a hole in the closet door with some spackle and a bad paint job. I didn't want any reminders of him. When Jake came back, I was ready. I spent every spare minute packing his stuff, his clothes, his tools, his random junk from the garage. I loaded it all into his van, parked it out front, and left the keys on the driver's seat. When he walked in, he looked at me, confused, like he thought he could just slide back into our life. "You need to go," I said, my voice flat. He started to argue, but I cut him off. "I'm done, Jake. You're not staying here." He stood there for a long time, staring at the packed bags. Then at me. I didn't budge. Mia was at a friend's house, and I was glad